Welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to look at how to set up an assignment. This implies that this tutorial is for lecturers. To set up an assignment, you would first have to open your course. So as you can see on my screen, I have opened my course. Then you can locate the Turn on Editing button up here, at the gear up here. When you click on it, you get Turn on Editing or Turn Editing on. Or you can also get it down here in the course administration. You can see Turn Editing on here. So any one of them that you prefer to use works. So I'm going to turn editing on. After turning editing on, you could see that you'll be able to add activities or resources. So as the title of this tutorial says, we are going to look at how to set up an assignment. So I'll click on add an activity or a resource, and then I'll come and choose assignment. You can read the descriptions here to have a fair knowledge of what the assignment is about. Then I'll go ahead and click on add. After clicking on add, you see the assignment page for the settings for the assignment will be shown. The first text box is requesting of the assignment name. So I'm going to put assignment 1. That is the name of my assignment. And if there's any description too, we can add the description here. You can put the question for the assignment too in the description box here. So in my case, this is going to be my question. Okay, so from there you can decide to display the description on the course page. This means that when the student opens the course, even before opening the assignment, the student will be able to see whatever that is typed in the description box. So if you take or check this, it's going to display this on the course page. I'm going to leave this for the student to open the assignment before seeing the question. Now we have additional files. You can also have your questions typed in a Word or PDF document and uploaded here in this space. So with this, the student will have to open the assignment and download that file and read the question of the assignment, and then they can answer it. So this space provided here is for additional files. There we have availability. That is the time frame that submission will be allowed and the due date for the submission. So looking at the first one, it says allow submission from, then the date, I'm going to choose 20th January 2021 at 12 midnight. So the system will allow submission from 12 midnight. So I'm going to enable this. And then the date or the due date. The due date, I'm going to change it to 31st January 2021. So it means that students can submit their assignment between 20th and 31st January. That is the time frame that they are supposed to submit the assignment. Now if you want to implement cutoff date, you can enable it here. That is, after the date set here, the student cannot submit their assignment anymore. So the system is not going to allow submission after the date that will be set here. So I'm going to change this to 1st February at this particular time. Then the last one is to remind me to grade by. So remind me to grade by, I'm going to change it to 1st. That is, you will let the system notify you or remind you that you have some assignment to grade or to mark. Then we move on to the submission types. On the submission types, we have the online tests and the file submissions. When you check online tests, it means that a test box will be provided for the student to type in the answer to the assignment online. So for instance, if I should enable this, the student will have a test box which is bigger than this, that they can type their answers in on the system. But if you choose file submission, that's the second option, means that it will only allow students to submit documents, either Word document or PDF document files. Only files will be allowed for submission. But if you check all the two, online test and then file submission, the students have the options to type directly into the system or submit a file, that is either a PDF or Word document. If you check the online test, you would have to place a word limit. That is, if you want to limit them as to the number of words they can use in answering the assignment. So to enable that, you have to check this and then you type in the words or the total number of words you would allow in the submission. This only applies when you check the online test. And then with the file submission, when it is enabled, the maximum number of uploads of files, you can limit it to either 2, maybe 1 or 2 reasons. Someone submitted the first one which contained an error and would like to submit another one, so you can allow a maximum number of uploads of files. So you can either make it 1 or you can increase it to 2 or any number that you would want the student to use. And then we have the maximum submission size. By default, we have 50 megabytes. You can limit them to any size that you want, from 50, 20, 10, 5, 1 and 2. So I'm going to leave it as it is for the default size. And then we have the accepted file types. You can choose the file types that you want your student to submit the assignment with. So if you want to choose, you come here and click on choose. Then you can choose the file type. You can choose document, or if you want your student to submit audio files too, you can check audio files. This will prevent the student from submitting a wrong file format. So if I check document, under document we have Word document, we have PDF document and the rest. So I'm going to accept Word and then PDF document for this particular assignment. You can choose any other file format depending on the course or the type of assignment you give your student. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save changes. So if the student tries to submit an assignment which he or she has scanned, in the picture form, the system won't accept pictures for submission for the assignment. It will only accept either PDF document or Word document. So over here you have the option to choose either online tests or file submission. So we've already talked about all the two, so you can either uncheck one or you leave all the two for the student to use. And then we have feedback types. The first option is feedback comment. If you enable this one as by default enabled by the system, you'll be able to give feedback comment. For example, if a student submits the assignment, you'll be able to give feedback comment attached to that particular assignment. So when the student opens that assignment again, the student will see the feedback comments that you gave on that assignment. And then the second option we have the offline grading worksheet. This one will allow you to download all the assignment submissions and grade them offline. Then you'll be able to upload them back online for the students to view the comments or the grades that they got. And then we have feedback files. This one too will allow you to type or write down all the feedback in a file and upload onto the system. Then the student will be able to view every feedback that you're giving them. So we have three options. By default, the system is checking this for us. I'm going to leave it as it is. And then we have comment inline. You can add comments to the assignment itself in the document when you choose yes here. So you can comment inline. That one to make it easier for students to see the comments you've given on a particular assignment. Now we have submission settings. The first one says require student to click the submit button. We are going to choose yes so that the student will be sure that he or she has submitted the assignment. And then we have require that student accept the submission statement. We are going to choose yes for this. This is where when the student is submitting the assignment, the student will be asked, are you sure you want to submit the assignment? Then the student will click on yes. So that is it. And then we have attempt reopen. Attempt reopen is usually done by the teacher or the lecturer. You can choose never, manually, or automatically until pass. When you choose automatically until pass, it is like grading the final year project of student. That is, you expect the student to attain a specific grade or to get to a particular requirement. So if the student is not able to get to that requirement, the student hasn't passed. So you can use automatically until pass and limit the student to the maximum number of attempts. Maybe pertaining project work, you want 5 attempts. So by the end of the 5th attempt, everything should be in place. The student should get the required grade to pass for that particular assignment submission. When we choose manually, the teacher or the lecturer will be able to open the assignment as many as he or she wants to. So you can either limit it or you make it unlimited. You can open it as many as you can. And then we have group submission settings. In most classes there are group assignments that the whole group is supposed to submit. In these settings too, if your assignment requires that students present it in groups, we are going to choose yes for here. And then the next requirement is require group to make submission. We are going to choose yes for this too. This one will require that all the students click on submit before the assignment will be submitted. So if all the students in the group in a particular group click on submit, but only one person does not click on submit, it means that the assignment won't be submitted. So this one will force all the students in the group to go online and go and click on submit button so that the assignment will be submitted. And that is the option for this one too. So require all group members to submit. So it's a requirement that all of them must submit before the teacher or the lecturer can see the assignment as submitted. If you have groupings in your course and the groupings are done in the system, when you get to the grouping for student groups, you can select a particular group that you want to direct this assignment to. So since I don't have any group, we'll be talking about groupings later in another tutorial. And then we have notification. This is where you get notified whenever a student submits an assignment. So the first requirement is notify graders about submissions. Do you want the system to notify you whenever a student submits an assignment? Yes. And then notify graders about late submission. So as soon as you choose yes for this, the notification about late submission will be turned off. But if you choose no, you'll be able to change this to yes, so that you can only get notification when someone submits a late assignment submission. So either you choose yes here and get notification whenever a student submits an assignment, or you choose no and choose yes here and get notification whenever there's a late submission. So you make your choice over here. And then we have the grade. The grade type, we are going to leave it on point. If you want to use scale too, you can use scale and choose the type of scale you want to use. I'm going to use point, and then I can specify the maximum grade. So the maximum grade for this assignment, if you're going to mark this assignment over 10, you can put 10 here as the maximum grade. And then the grading method too, we have the simple direct grading and the marking guide, and then also we have the rubric. So with the marking guide, we get a guide that will guide us through the marking, especially the marking that follows some steps. And then we have the rubric. That one too is applicable here. In this case, I'm going to use the simple direct grading method. Then we have grade category. You'll be able to categorize your activities into various categories. Let's say we have activities that are connected to exams and activities that are connected to continuous assessment. So in my case, I created those grade categories. I have continuous assessment, and then I have exams. So any activity that I give students that is related to continuous assessment, I'm going to choose continuous assessment as my grading category. If you have not set this up, you can just leave it at uncategorized. But since I've done mine, I'm going to choose continuous assessment for that. Then since our maximum grade is 10, the grade to pass, I'm going to put 5 as the grade to pass. So with the blind marking, it hides the identity of the student from the teacher or the grader. So if you're a lecturer and you want to be marking without knowing the particular student you are marking the script for, you can choose blind marking. You can choose yes, the student or the names or the identity of the student that you're marking for. This will most of the times apply when you use this kind of submission file types. So when you use online tests and you choose blind marking, you won't be able to see or know the student that you're marking the script for. And then we have hide grader identity from student. So you can hide your identity from the student if you want to. And then we have use marking workflow. With use marking workflow, the marking have to go through some series of steps or some number of times for the marking to be completed. So if your course or your assignment requires that you use marking workflow, you can use this option. You can set it at yes, and then you can use marking allocation. But since I'm not using that, I'm going to leave everything at no. Then the next we have common module settings. Then the availability, we can show it on the course page or we can hide it from student. So we can show it now even if it's not time for them to see, and we will see how we can hide it on the course page. We can decide to give it this assignment an ID number. It's not compulsory, we can leave it as it is. And if you have group in your class, you can choose to select a separate group or visible groups. But since I don't have any group, I'm going to leave it like that. And then we have restrict access. You can restrict student access to this assignment using so many options. You can restrict by date, by grade, group, user profile, and then you can set your custom restriction. So if by date, and let's say we choose this and we set the date to this, say student must match the following date. So it means if we set this restriction and put it at 11th January, after 11th January, that's where the student will be able to open this assignment or have access to this assignment. So when you are able to make these settings, there's no need for you to hide the assignment from students when it's not due. You can just set the date and tell the system that you would only want to show the assignment to students on this particular date. So you can choose any other option over here. So students must match the following date from 11th January. So from 11th January, the student will be able to get access to the assignment. But if I choose must not, means that after 11th January, the student will not be able to get access to this assignment or to open it. So we need to be very careful when setting this type of restrictions. You may end up hiding your assignment from students without you knowing. So I'm going to choose must. Student must match the following. So you see, you set the date from 11th January, and then we have the time to here. So if you're not really comfortable with this, you can hide that particular activity on the course page. Then we have activity completion. So completion tracking, you can track the student's activity as to whether they've completed your activity or not. So with this assignment, says the first option says do not indicate activity completion. You can indicate that there shouldn't be any activity completion, or you can let the student mark the activity as complete. When you choose this option, even if the student hasn't submitted the assignment, the student can mark completed the activity. So show activity as complete when conditions are met. Then the third option is show activity as complete when conditions are met. So when we choose the last option, you would want the student to meet some conditions to declare them as they have completed the assignment. So let's choose the last option, then let's see what we are supposed to do here. Then require view. Do you require that the student should view the assignment to complete it? You can choose yes. And then require grade. This one says student must receive a grade to complete this activity. This is very important. You can check this. After you have graded the activity, the student can see that activity as complete. Or you can decide that students must submit this activity to complete it. So it's either you uncheck this and uncheck this. If you uncheck the first and the last option, the students can say that they have successfully completed the activity when they have been graded or when the assignment has been marked. If you haven't graded the assignment or the activity and you set a requirement that the students should be able to complete previous activities before moving on to the next activity, then you will need to grade this particular assignment before creating a new activity for students to complete. But if you deselect this and then select this one, it means that as soon as the student submits the assignment, even without you marking, the student can, or the system can, rate the student as the activity has been completed. If you choose the last option, the system can tell the student that that particular activity is complete. So it's between this and this, allowing students to view just an activity or the assignment does not mean they've completed it, unless it's an information that you want them to just read or take a look at. That you can use this option. So most of the times you have the option to choose between this and this. You can also set a date that the particular activity or assignment is expected to be completed. So we can usually match this date to the availability settings we did here. So we can use the same date here as the due date down here at the expect completed on. So I'm going to choose 31st January 2021. Then I'll leave the time as 00. So with this, the student is expected to complete the activity on 31st January 2021. Then the next one is the tags. We can add tags to this assignment. Maybe the topic that this assignment is talking about, if it's about computers, you can add a tag like this to it, so that when the students search computers anywhere in the system, this particular assignment will be shown to them. This allows for easy searching of activities on the system. Then we have competences. With the competences, if your assignment requires that a student should complete a previous activity before completing this activity, we can set or search for that particular activity. If this assignment is your first activity, you wouldn't see anything here. As you can see, no suggestion. But if you've already created an activity for the student and you expect that the student should complete that previous activity before submitting or performing this particular activity, you can choose the previous activity here, so that it will require that the student would have to complete the previous one before moving on to this activity. And then we have the last option. Upon activity completion, you can complete the competence, send for a review, or attach evidence, or you can decide to do nothing. So if you choose complete the competency, the system will automatically rate that particular activity as completed, so that if the student is supposed to perform another activity, the system will automatically detect that this assignment or this activity has been completed by the student. So in the next activity, the system will allow the students to complete the coming or the next activities. So after setting up all the settings that is required for the assignment, you can then click on save and display. So after clicking on save and display, this is what we have. Since we didn't upload a document, we have the question appearing here, and then you could see the number of students that this assignment is hidden from. Says no, we have just one group. The number of people who have submitted, nothing. And then we have the number of students who have submitted, that is 0. The due date is set here, and the time remaining will also be shown here. If you want to know how the assignment will appear to students, you can come to the top right corner where your name is displayed. Then you click on switch row to student. So you click on student here, and this is how the students are going to see the assignment. So they could see if they are in a particular group, the group they are in, then the attempt they have to submit the assignment, and then if they have submitted or not, the assignment submission status, and then the grading. If the assignment is grade or graded, they'll be able to see the grade here, the due date and the time remaining, last modify, and if there are any comments made by either the student or the lecturer. So this is how it will appear to students. So they have a button here they can click on to add submission for the assignment. So if you want to switch back to your normal row, you click on your profile icon, then you click on return to my normal row. You get back to where you were and you see everything. So this is shortly how to set up an assignment on UEW Learning Management System.